Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, as I was on LinkedIn, I was starting to post more anti-feminist stuff and countering the points of the feminist liberals on LinkedIn. And these women who are on that nonsensical app really find themselves as oppressed. And I find this to be quite odd. And there was a woman who, she didn't have her profile picture or anything like that, but she was saying how women in America are oppressed. And I don't agree that women in America are oppressed. You have access to clean water, running water, electricity, smartphones, Wi-Fi, extensive government programs. You are free to mess up your own life. And if your life is awful, it's your fault and your parents' fault. It isn't men who have done anything to you. Women choose the men whom they sleep with. Women choose how they want their body to look in terms of weight. They choose how their attitude will be if it chases men away. It's almost like these feminist liberals are incapable of seeing that they may be the problem, and how they haven't been able to find someone who wants to deal with their craziness, their weirdness, and they want the whole world to change. They blame all men instead of looking in the mirror and recognizing that maybe it's you. Maybe you've done something and you're not raised properly, so men have decided to leave you in the dust. So the solution isn't whine on LinkedIn, create posts about female empowerment. It's how do you reform yourself so that the man you want finds you to be the woman he wants. Because sometimes you can want somebody, but your style of being isn't really for them. And so you have to be yourself, but you also have to improve. And if you think that you're just some perfect woman, well, then you won't develop. And I think it's becoming more and more clear how women were told, sterilize your womb through birth control, use protection in terms of condoms, and then have sterilized intimacy, use pills, drink, use drugs, party, participate in hookup culture, get abortions, take the day after pill, go to college, spend your 20s getting into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and then now they're out of that system that pushed them into that. And now then they're seeing 18-year-olds and 21-year-olds getting the attention of the well-established men on majority. They're resentful, they're spiteful, and they're hateful. And now they want all the men in society to pay their student loans through the tax code, right? Debt forgiveness, while also trashing all the men who work in labor jobs or who worked in fields where they didn't have to take out loans or where they're self-made. All those men are putting their tax money into the pool that these ivory feminists get to leech off of so they can whine from their air-conditioned office on a smartphone made by a slave in a first world country with a modern infrastructure grid. This to me just seems very odd, that American feminists whine more than women who have far less and just deal with their lives. It seems quite odd. And further, what kind of man wants to have a woman who is constantly nagging about feminism? It would seem a mental drain where you would have a woman who refuses to be nurturing, caring, loving, traditional, who's more callous, masculine, aggressive, hyperbolic, tenacious, vindictive, alarming. All of these different personality traits that really put a woman off and don't make her feel like she can be protected or calm. And so, if you're like an American feminist, I don't see how you can still be making the argument that you're oppressed. You had the opportunity to go to college. If you're in debt, it's your own fault. You didn't make a return on your investment. You didn't know how to market yourself and get the money back. Nobody wants to hire you. You're at a barista job making Pete's coffees. And now you're mad at the world and calling it the patriarchy because nobody wants to hire you. No one told you to go to college how do I put it? You were urged. You signed the dotted line. You made the decision. You judged other people who chose to be self-taught and go a different path, and who wanted to be stay-at-home moms, who now have a beautiful family, and now you're barren, bitter, have a long track record of men, and your personality is so off-putting and so stern. It's not warm, cozy, affectionate, feminine. It's whiny, narcissistic, egotistical, vindictive, vain, pompous. Of course, the average guy is not going to want to deal with a woman like that and go to work to provide for her. And while you're off at your job and he's off at his job, he might find someone else who is a bit more humble and then replace you. Because companionship is important. Some people want to have a companion. They don't want to have a competitor in the house. And so, American feminists who say we want representation everywhere, why do the feminists keep lying and saying that women have some type of sisterhood? That's just not real. It's just not real. I don't treat someone better because they're a woman. And I've never had a good interaction with a feminist who told me, oh, well, you're a woman, therefore I'm not going to insult you. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. No. And if you look at the prisons in America, they're filled with bad women. Women who hurt other women. Women constantly hurt each other and hurt men. So scapegoating all men for the world's problems is quite ridiculous. It's even more interesting that men make up the majority of the people who make the roads you get to drive on, who build the cars you drive in, and then these women are nagging about how men aren't anything while they're literally driving on roads and in cars that men built. Even the washing machines. Even the plumbers who keep the pipes flowing. The deep ingratitude that American feminists have, I would love to see all of them rounded up, sent to the worst parts of the world where literally they have nothing, bring those traditional women to America and swap places and see how the gratitude changes. Because the more modern society gets, the more ungrateful these feminist liberal atheists become. They want the world to be at their feet without them having to break their backs to do it. And they think that the world has to bow to their beauty. And some of them don't even have that. And if you're not beautiful, you need to have a good personality. And if you're ugly, don't have a good body, and you're nasty with a crappy personality, and you don't cook and clean, and you want to be a feminist and think the world owes you something, no, the problem is you. The problem is how you're interacting with the world, feeling entitled. There are people who suffer worse, and they just deal with it. Children who suffer things and are worse. People who had it all and lost it all, and they deal with it. But an American feminist is unique because the further they go into academia, the more they enjoy sniffing their own farts, tooting their own horn, and thinking that they're the bee's knees and that men have nothing to offer. And they become more rebellious and more of an a-hole and have a nasty personality. Or they become nihilistic, cynical people who hate motherhood and don't like children. So at the end of the day, what kind of man wants to have a woman around who hates motherhood, cares more about her body, likes to go out drinking with random dudes in the city, hooks up with her friends who are girls? It's just not cohesive to having a harmonic, peaceful home and a stable mom to essentially do what has to be done. Women are not oppressed. Feminists are still pushing that war drum. And in today's society, I just don't see how they can do it. America's poor are fat, have phones, have Section 8 housing, can get help with all kinds of stuff. The poor in California get Medi-Cal. They literally get health insurance covered. Poor woman who makes under $3,000 a month as a married couple, family of 3, will get her pregnancy completely covered by the state. Whereas someone who makes above that amount has to buy private insurance. Mind you, there are a lot of programs, quite a lot, that women get to take advantage of. Women are not oppressed, they've just become more lazy and entitled, nasty, and complaining. How do you put it? They're not complacent, but they're complainers. They never stop thinking that there's a problem and that it's everyone else's fault except for theirs. Accountability for their actions and how their poor choices were have really misled them. They just look in the mirror, recognize your life is the way it is. You could have it worse, but appreciate what you have. Stop being nasty to men around you. And think about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you and appreciate what you have. Can you buy clean bottled water in the store? Do you have hygiene products? You have a choice between hot or cold water, making a middle in the between. You have access to buy a stroller. You have access to Wi-Fi, to gardens, to nature, to trees, to supermarkets. You don't have to be in the fields like other women who have to make sure that you have food. It's always these luxury living feminists who think that there's some type of banner for women who are suffering, when these liberal feminists haven't suffered really. And they have a very distorted sense of what it means to be a mom and a wife. And they're actually causing more harm in society by encouraging brothel culture, OnlyFans culture, selling your flesh, worshipping musicians who promote the worst ideals in society, and then bragging about not cooking and not cleaning and being a fat slob. It's even more sad when you realize the feminists have gone so far to hate men that now a biological man simply needs to say he's a woman, and the feminists will say he's a woman. So they simultaneously hate men, yet made Caitlyn Jenner Woman of the Year, and defend that swimmer Leah Thomas. So you can totally see that these women have had too much luxury. They've had too much softness. They've had minor inconveniences because they refuse to be a wife, and they've glorified being a single mom and then want sympathy, saying how strong they are, while at the same time saying they don't need men. They don't make sense. So no, LinkedIn feminists. In America, you're not oppressed. If you didn't succeed, it's because you want too much, you didn't work hard enough, blame your parents and blame yourself and your decision making. Be accountable, be responsible. You're not owed anything in this world.